home improvement today. And I got two great guests, like legitimately really good guests. I'm excited because, listen, we're always talking about your house, this, that, and the other. Well, today we're going to talk about air quality because did you know the inside air of your house is 5 to 10 times dirtier than the outside air? Oy, talk about some skuts and some schmutz. That's crazy. And we're going to give you some air quality tips. We're going to let you know, too, if you have children with respiratory issues, it could be your house. It's really simple how we roll here. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, someone just texted in. So is it a good idea to buy an air filtration system with a new furnace or something else? Yeah, if you're replacing your furnace and it's an older house, I would absolutely make sure you get at least a 4 or 5 inch pleated air filter with a MERV rating. MERV is MERV. It's an acronym. A MERV rating of 16 or better. Okay? So if you ever need help on that, just email me, adam@hireitdone.com. We'll always help you. But also, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get your ductwork cleaned. You'd be surprised at how much schmutz is in your ductwork. And we'll actually talk about that when Carolyn Blazovsky comes on later this morning, which is, she's our healthy home person. But so what about smoking? What about air quality? I mean, think about this for a second. Did you know the inside of your house is 5 times dirtier than the outside air? And what I want you to know, folks, is people with children go to the allergist and like, yeah, my son's got allergies. My kid's got allergies. How does this happen? Well, the trend now is that it's starting in the home, environmental interior of the home. So joining me on the Hire Done radio show is a good friend and regular guest, Caroline Blazovsky, America's healthy home expert. Good morning, Caroline.
Good morning, Adam. How are you?
Super fantastic for the Super Bowl weekend. What's going on?
Are you vying for my job, giving out secrets on how to clean up all kinds of debris?
Well, here's the deal, right? I'm not trying to vie for anything. I just know that I'm smart enough to bring someone like you, who's an industry leader, on my show to give the best advice possible. How's that?
That sounds good. Kiss up, kiss up.
Right? So let's talk about air quality in the house right now. So, well, first of all, I'm sorry. Let's back it up. Caroline, tell everyone about America's healthy home expert.
Well, I've been a healthy home expert for over 17 years, and basically my job is to work with homeowners and physicians to create spaces where you feel healthy, improve wellness at home, and be able to basically feel good and not have problems, because we know a lot of things stem out of our homes and our environments.
Right. So do you agree with me when I say homeowners, parents who take their children to the respiratory doctor because the children has asthma? Every kid's got an inhaler today. And the doctors are now seeing a trend that maybe they should check the air quality in the house. Are you seeing that trend?
That trend is huge. And if there was a report that just came out last week talking about the $82 billion that we've spent on asthma treatment in this country. And if that doesn't give you incentive to clean up your home and not only reduce healthcare costs, I don't know what does.
Well, there you have it. So let's talk about what are some of the common household items that everybody who's listening has in their house that they should be aware of and what it can do to trigger or to create some sort of respiratory issue.
Well, I think if you are a parent, or let's say parents of children with asthma or allergies, I think the first thing that you want to do is really be sensitive to overloading them with scents. And we talk about this because you love your Febreze, but unfortunately a lot of these things are irritants, and when you start using hairspray and then hair product and then some air freshener and then you add some scented laundry detergent, it builds up really quickly to a very high level of volatile organics. And then when we find that certain asthma conditions, when we lessen the volatile organics in the home, the symptoms improve and the children or parents or adults don't get them as frequently. So it's really important to watch your volatile levels, and the first thing is the fragrances because they add up really quickly.
So the fragrances basically mask instead of reduce any of the irritants. Is that correct?
Exactly. Correct.
But they smell so good.
And it's okay to use some. It's okay to do 15 minutes a day of maybe an essential oil or a citrus or peppermint or something that you like. But you don't want to go over that, because when you go over that, that's when it starts to stress the body. And the point behind wellness and in creating environments is that we're trying to reduce the inflammation that systemically happens when you have all of these lovely things in your home. And therefore, the body has to work harder and then can have other health issues like carcinogens and things like that come into play.
Right, and that's where it gets serious. So, like when people, let me ask you a question. VOCs are volatile organic compounds, and so the term VOC is used loosely sometimes in a house, but it's really when a product is brought in the house and then it off gases or spreads the whatever it is around the house.
Correct, different chemical compounds. And then there's also things that we call, that are in the family of semi-volatiles, or also what we call POPs, and people don't really know them as frequently. Everybody thinks VOC, paint, I want to reduce my VOC content. But POPs are what are called persistent organic pollutants, and these are the things that sort of stay around for a long time. Waterproofing materials are one that contain them. Also, we hear about it in flame retardants. And these are the things that we're studying now and seeing, and I'm out at USC studying preventative medicine, public health. We're seeing a correlation of these POPs with people who have cancer. We don't know exactly the relationship yet, but we know there's this correlation. So that's why you have to be careful when you're using these products in your home, like POPs, in materials. You want to know if they're in there or not.
Right. And so that's important to recognize. We're talking with Caroline Blazovsky, folks. She's America's Healthy Home Expert. Caroline, if someone has a question for you or an email they want to get you, what's your website?
Sure, healthyhomeexpert.com. And you can send me an email. There's a section to ask the expert and shoot it on over, and the people that be will give it to me, and I will answer you. And usually I try to get back to you pretty quickly, at least give you a couple quick tips.
Exactly. So let me ask this. So in Michigan, and this is not native to just the Michigan, but any home with a basement, right? Traditionally, the HVAC equipment is in the basement, and usually it draws air from inside the house and outside the house, and then it it spreads it around the whole house.
Exactly.
So someone's buying a new furnace, or they're just changing their air filters. Is there anything else they should be looking at, or just they want to go one level better? Do you have any suggestions?
If you're buying a new home, I usually recommend duct cleaning, of course, okay? And that's to get rid of all the stuff that's been in there from people that, you don't know what people did in their home. They could have smoked, they could have had pets, whatever. But also, you want to know what kind of ducts you have. I think it's really important, whether you have galvanized metal, whether you have flex duct. A lot of people don't understand that when you buy a house and you have what's called flex duct, which looks like a slinky. You can describe it better. I always say it looks like a slinky.
Actually, that's pretty good.
It's got these little crevices, and then everything sort of gets caught up in these crevices instead of having straight metal ductwork. And I try to encourage people, when you're looking at houses, you really need to look at that, because it can be problematic. We see a lot of problems in the South, in Florida and Texas, where it goes bad. It gets moldy because it's plastic ductwork. After 4 or 5 years, it really becomes a problem with mold. So know what you're getting, understand the relationship, and that you may have to change some of these things out. They're not as durable as the old ductwork was, as far as
right. So the galvanized ductwork, but still, we have duct cleaners on HireItDone.com, and they tell me, and this is statistic, the average house, and if you're buying a new house, and this is you're buying a house, whether it's old or new, the average house has 25 pounds of dust sitting in the ductwork.
Yeah, it's gross.
Right? Now, what about HEPA filters or special pleated filters that do a little bit better job than the 1-inch filters that people have? You recommend upgrading, right?
Yeah, HEPA filters, you can upgrade, but I like using a lot of HEPA filtration when you're older than 65. Nothing gets around the due diligence, people. Like, if you just expect to put a filter in and then not dust and clean, it's not happening. So you have to remember that just because you're putting this HEPA filter in doesn't mean that it alleviates you vacuuming and dusting your house and doing all the other things that have to get done. I think people think they put that in and somehow that's their scapegoat, that they don't have to clean as much. So, just beware that change your filter when it's dirty, not on a set schedule, because people think, well, I have to change it every 3 months, and it may be getting dirty after a month and a half. So you want to do it on your traffic, how many people you have in the home, and then look at your filter and do it by an eye. Don't do it by just a time period, too.
Makes sense, and I appreciate that advice because it does sound right, the right way to do it. But so, folks, again, if someone has air quality issues, do you recommend they get tested to see what exactly they're allergic to, and then react from there?
Absolutely. I think everybody should be testing their home one time of year for whatever it is, whether it's water testing to see what your contamination level is, mold, radon, volatile organics. And some of these things don't have to be repeated once you do them, as long as you haven't done construction on the home or you haven't made major changes to the structure, you're fine, or you're not bringing chemicals in and things like that. But I think you need to get a baseline as to where you are for health. Everybody does. And then from there, there's certain things I like you to test for. So I like molds repeated every 3 years. I like water testing every 3 years. So just to stay on top of, these things change. They're not constant. So, but you need to. We really see a big percentage of your health is determined by your environment, and you don't realize you're living with these things. They're microscopic. You can't see it. It's not like as an inspector I can go in and say, hey, I can see your air quality is polluted. I can't tell until I microscopically look at stuff. So it's really important. I think it saves people so many health, visits moving forward. It saves on healthcare costs. So you just need to do it, really. Right,
and I'm glad you gave that because coming from your perspective, you're an expert on healthy homes. Now let me ask you a question: how involved do you get when it comes to building materials?
I do. I have a lot of clients that, do consultations with me, and they want to know what products to pick. And I definitely have my agenda as to better products that I think exist. I just think there's a problem in this country in general where we have no monitoring system as to what goes in building products or any governing body. And I hate to add another governing agent to anything that we have, but when you can just put products up and there's no label, there isn't any.
Kind of like drywall from China.
Yeah.
They just mix whatever poisons they can and send it to us.
And this is going on with flooring, any kind of product. I mean, there's just no guidance. And I think we really need it in this country. It affects us so tremendously. The way we build and the high formaldehyde levels that we have in this country, which is carcinogenic, by the way, needs to be monitored. And there has to be some way to do it. And I think you and I should sit on a board and monitor that.
Yeah, you know what? I'm in. Let me know when. But yeah, that's the problem. So building material, is there a building material that you think should not be allowed in houses?
I think you have to weigh out your sensitivities to things and what you have in the home. And then, when you start bringing in more engineered lumber, you start bringing in more products that have been even windows that, people say, well, I'm buying a window, it's a fiberglass window, but they don't realize that there's other byproducts that make up that window. They take different pieces of wood and plastics to make up your framing underneath that you don't see.
Sure.
Homeowners need to know this because if you have a child that's asthmatic or you're asthmatic, you may not want to invest in a product like that. Especially flooring, a lot of the engineered stuff with the glues and resins, it can become problematic, and I think you just need to be aware, of what you're getting. So MSDS sheets, or pick up a sheet where you can look at, what's in your product is really important.
It's interesting you say that because, like there's a spin on that. Like let's use exterior composite decking, right? They take the plastic bags from, like Walmart, and they use those, they grind those up, they mix them with the leftover wood and sawdust from a cabinet factory. They grind it all up, and then they add a resin, and they push it through like a print, and then out comes a piece of deck. But again, no one's really testing to see what kind of environmental effect it has as it degrades.
And what else was in there with that product? You know what I'm saying? So, for example, it may be that product, but then where was that product along the way? What was it exposed to? Was it exposed to pesticide? We just don't know enough. I mean, we really put these products in, and we don't know where they come from or what they contain, and it's a little scary to me.
Yeah. No, listen, I got you. I'm with you 100%. So, is there any big plans for you this year? Is there any big you got anything coming out, or any research that you're working on that is going to be earth-shattering?
Oh, just working. No, it's been crazy. It's just clients. People are really just they realize, doctors are starting to realize now that everybody's that this environmental piece is really a big deal, and we've ignored it for a really long time. And you really need to be checking your environments. I've been doing, I'm out at University of Southern California and working on a the public health degree. So
Yeah,
we're
well-
big Trojan fans.
Well, that's the
Adam
thing.
and I.
My fingers are crossed for USC.
Woohoo!
You know, I want to be a Trojan. A USC
You're gonna wear
Trojan,
the
folks.
Trojan Dad. I got one for my dad, the Trojan Dad sweatshirt.
Trust me, I'm crossing my fingers. I don't want to poo-poo it, but yes, my son is the next Spielberg, so we got to get him out to USC.
I'm so proud of him. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm hooping for
Yeah,
good things.
shout out to Max Helfman. He's definitely going to be a star.
Way to go.
So let me ask you one last question before we wrap it up. So is there any, like a homeowner says, you know what, my kid's always coughing. He's always got nasal problems. When you, if someone says, I always say, listen, take your kid to a doctor and have him respiratory. But what testing do you recommend homeowners have their children or themselves tested to see if it's the house?
Yeah, the problem is a lot of the physicians, they're busy, right? And you go into the office and they don't have environmental inspectors that they recommend. Some do. I mean, it's becoming definitely more prevalent. That's why we're getting so busy. But, you know, some doctors do have someone that say, hey, check out your home. Here's an indoor air quality professional you can call, and they'll do an investigation. You have to, you know, like call our company, order a test kit, start looking at molds, danders, proteins, volatile organics. There's so many things in your home that can set off asthma and allergies. You shouldn't be suffering. You really don't need to. So just get it done, get some testing done, and see where you're at. It's not that expensive. You can do your whole home for less than $1,000, and that's a really expensive, you know, workup.
Yeah, that's a detailed testing.
Yeah.
So, Caroline, give everyone your website again. So if they have any questions or they're concerned or they like what they heard, they can get a hold of you. Give everyone the website to
So it's
contact you.
healthyhomeexpert.com. The name of the company is My Healthy Home. Google us, look us up, and there's great shows like this one on our website. Just get information. Start learning about how your environment impacts your wellness, how you can get healthy in the new year, I think is always good. And really, you don't need to be sick. Just, you know, start looking at other sources as to the causes.
Sure. So there you have it, folks. If you need, if you got all that, if not, just go to hireitdone.com and I'll get you the information. Caroline, of course, you're the best. Thank you so much for calling in today.
Thanks, Adam. Have a good weekend.
We'll
and
be in
go,
touch.
Go Super Bowl.
That's right. Take care. Have a good day.